What's up guys? In today's video, I'm going to be going over what I think the top 5 weapons from the Cold War integration in Warzone are. Unfortunately, the Kilo and the R9 were not nerfed, so in terms of effectiveness, I think the Kilo R9 is probably still the best loadout in the game, but if you're someone who wants to experiment with some of the Cold War weapons, try them out, I'm going to go over which ones I think are good in this video today. I'm also going to have my loadouts that I was using for them during the gameplay on screen when I talk about them, but I'm not sure if these are like the best loadouts or not. This is just what I was running on them today. And in the case of the MAC-10, I don't even have that weapon fully leveled up yet because it just came out. And to start off with, we're going to talk about the MAC-10. This is the newest submachine gun that was added. It was just a part of the Season 1 Battle Pass for Cold War. And this is just a really dominant submachine gun. These first 2 weapons I'm going to talk about are submachine guns, and I think they both are actually really top tier. Some of the other ones, not as much, but the MAC-10 has a really insane rate of fire, really good damage, and when it comes to a submachine gun, that's basically all you really want. It doesn't have the most range. If you're looking for a submachine gun with more range, not really going to cut it. The MP5 from Modern Warfare, the AK-74U, we're going to talk about, the MP7, they're all much better as like more medium range submachine guns, but this thing dominates up close. It shoots really fast. Think of it like the Fennec from Modern Warfare, but if the Fennec was actually insanely good, that's basically what the MAC-10 is. I would definitely recommend you trying it out. If you don't try out any of the other weapons on this list, try out the MAC-10. It's the real deal. It's insanely good. The next weapon we're going to talk about is the AK-74U. This is another submachine gun, and it kills really fast. It has a little bit more range. It's one of those more like medium close range submachine guns, like the Modern Warfare MP5 is, which has been like the king submachine gun for all of Warzone. And the AK-74U, it feels like it competes for that. I ran into a lot of people still running the MP5 today, and I was able to outgun them when using the MAC-10 or the 74U. Obviously, it's not all about the gun, it's the person who uses it, but I think both of these weapons are really top tier. I would definitely recommend trying out the 74U and the MAC-10. Good damage, good range. Like the 74U is just really balanced in every regard. It's very similar to the Modern Warfare MP5. It's very good. And if the R9 was nerfed, I think we would actually have a really healthy close range meta in Warzone right now. I think the Modern Warfare MP5 is still insanely good, but adding in the 74U and the MAC-10, I think there's a lot more like experimenting you could do in close range with submachine guns, because for most of Modern Warfare, it just seemed like MP5 or shotgun. That's been the meta for Warzone. I think both of these 2 submachine guns are really good, and I would definitely recommend you trying them out. The next one we're going to talk about is the Stoner 63. This is a light machine gun in Cold War, and it has the option of running fast mag, so you can reload quick. It has pretty good handling. It reminds me a lot of the Bruin, and I saw a lot of other people saying it reminds them of the Bruin. The reason for that is it reloads kind of fast with the fast mag attachment. It has very good range, very good recoil reduction, and it handles decently fast. Obviously, it is a light machine gun, so it doesn't have the best handling in the world. It doesn't have the fastest reload in the world, but it is a very solid weapon, and it's definitely worth using or trying out in Warzone. Unfortunately, one of the main problems with the Cold War weapon when it comes to Warzone is the fact that all of the suppressors in Cold War reduce your bullet velocity and your range quite considerably, whereas for the Modern Warfare weapons, when you run the monolithic suppressor, you gain bullet velocity and you gain damage range. So that difference between a Modern Warfare weapon and a Cold War weapon in terms of bullet velocity is what really holds back a lot of the Cold War weapons, and it was just like a huge oversight made by whoever ported these weapons into Warzone. I'm hoping in the future they adjust the top suppressor attachment and make it more in line with the monolithic suppressor from Modern Warfare, and then we would have a lot more like play with these weapons. I think the Stoner is good. It does have still pretty good bullet velocity, but that is one of the lacking aspects when you compare it to some of the Modern Warfare weapons, is it doesn't quite have that laser bullet velocity that you're used to. It kills incredibly fast. It's pretty low recoil. It's a faster handling LMG. I think the Stoner 63 is going to be a top tier weapon, especially if they adjust the suppressor like I was talking about. The next weapons I want to talk about are the M4 and the Krig. Both kill pretty good. The Krig is very low recoil. Think of it like the Cold War version of the Kilo. And then the XM4, think of it like the Cold War version of the M4. They're both very similar to those respective weapons. And if you're thinking about them in that like vein, you'll know what to expect. And both of those weapons, the Kilo and the M4, have been like top assault rifles in Modern Warfare. The Kilo for the back half, the M4 for like the entirety of Modern Warfare. So I think both the M4 and the Krig are viable assault rifles, Because of the bullet velocity differences in Cold War, it's kind of harder to use the M4 or the Krig as like a main AR. But I think these guns are worth trying out. I had fun using them today. I think the Krig especially is very low recoil. If they adjust those bullet velocity changes, I think the Krig could be a top tier weapon in Warzone. But for now, I think the XM4 and the Krig are like somewhat viable. If you really want to use Cold War weapons, try them out. But I wouldn't necessarily recommend you using them over the Kilo if all you care about is winning. The final gun we're going to talk about in depth is the M16. This is a burst fire assault rifle. I think the AUG is also quite good, but most of my time today, if I used one, I used the M16. I didn't use the AUG very much. But the M16 is fire. And this gameplay here, I got a 17 kill solo win with it. It's very good. And it's just, I think one of the reasons why the M16 is viable and some of the other Cold War weapons aren't is because what we're comparing it to. When you compare the M16 or the Cold War AUG to the Modern Warfare FAMAS, they're much better. The Modern Warfare FAMAS was garbage, one of the worst guns in the game. So there's room in Warzone for a burst rifle to actually have a place, since we don't actually already have one. When you compare the M4 and the Krig to the Kilo and the M4, why would you want to use them? Like, the Modern Warfare weapons are just slightly better. The Cold War weapons, in terms of burst rifles, are actually very good, and I found the M16 to be very viable. It's kind of hard to take gunfights with it, though. Like, just bunny hopping into someone, I don't think you can really do with the M16. You got to be a little bit smarter about your positioning and when you peek. But you get good damage over range. Bullet velocity is still kind of but good damage over range, easy to be accurate with because it's a burst rifle. In solos, if you want to play for picks or a little bit slower, it can be good. Also, if you play squads or trios and your teammates play much more aggressively than you and you often find yourself a little bit behind them, I think the M16 or the AUG could be like a great supportive fire weapon. And like I said, I get a 17 kill win with it in this gameplay. I'm going to let it play out after the video. It's a good gun. It's solid. I think if they ever adjust the suppressors like we were talking about, I think the M16 could be one of the best in the game. But we'll have to wait and see. And the final thing I want to talk about, I didn't play with it all today, but I've seen a lot of people talking about it in my chat or on Twitter, is going to be the DMR-14. I never leveled this weapon up from Cold War, so I didn't use it at all today. But I've heard that the DMR-14 is the real deal, and it's a very like insane weapon. I'm excited to try that out because I liked DMRs in past games. So that's another weapon where we don't really have DMRs that are dominant in Modern Warfare. We had the FAL for a little bit, but it was really up close. After that, the SKS or the EBR didn't really ever rise in popularity. So if the DMR-14 from Cold War is really good, it fills a niche or it fills a hole that we already had in Modern Warfare because none of the Modern Warfare guns could really compete in that aspect. So that's kind of how I'm looking at these guns. I try to think of like what to compare it to and where it fits in the meta and if we already have something better that does that. So I think the M16, the DMR-14 could be better than the respective weapons we have in that category. The Stoner could potentially be the best light machine gun in the game. That's definitely not like there's a dominant LMG in Warzone at the moment. And then both the MAC-10 and the AK-74U I think are very good and they can compete with the MP5. So I'm gonna let the gameplay play out. Like I said, I got a 17 kill solo win with the M16. It was pretty good. And yeah, if you guys found this video helpful, informative, whatever, remember to give it a like, subscribe for more content. I'm going to have a lot of Warzone content over the next few days going over in-depth loadouts with these weapons. If there's any changes, we'll talk about it then. But thanks for watching, guys. I don't know if I'm going to have to rotate first or if he is. I think he's already coughing.
Gas inbound. Safe zone relocated.
I doubt he has an airstrike. He probably would have used it already. I just don't know where he is. These guys have been playing in weird spots the entire time. There he is.
Target area is marked. You're cleared hot.
Gas is moving in. New safe zone located. You've got to slot this bastard.
I don't know where he went.
Strike inbound. Impact, no
GG's.
Mission accomplished. 4 targets eliminated.
The guy's rotations are actually so good. I couldn't find him the entire time. That's like an actual thing. Yo, hello?
GG's, bro.
Yo, GG's. I cannot find you forever.
Dude, you have the precision, bro. That's all I fucking needed. It's like I was sitting in that house. I was like, God, I wish I had a fucking precision.
Yeah, I was live. You
GG's
could go
though,
watch
man.
it back. I was actually like, I hope this guy doesn't have a precision. GG's
That
though.
was a good fight, man. Yeah.